this is the Fiido D11 and I've had the opportunity to try out this bike for the past month. Now, this isn't a paid video, Fiido haven't paid us to make this, they've just sent us a bike to try and I quite like it really. It's a pretty well executed folding bike, it's got some neat features. I mean, it's not perfect by any means, but you're getting a lot of bike for your money. Tell us what you think about it in the comments below and subscribe to e-bike tips for more e-bike content from us. If you hit the bell icon, we'll even let you know when there's new stuff. Well, we won't, but YouTube will. So, Fiido. Now, you might not have heard of them because they mostly sell bikes in the Far East until now, until the D11. This bike's had a global launch. It's available pretty much everywhere, including in the UK. Now, the price varies depending on the vagaries of the exchange rate and the discount you get on any given day. But normally, you'll be paying about £800, or if you're not, wait a couple of days and then you will be. So, it's not an expensive e-bike, but it's a reasonably well considered one. You've got this single beam frame here. It looks a little bit like a scaled up balance bike, doesn't it? And it's got 20-inch wheels, so it's a reasonably compact unit. It's a folding bike, of course, so you've got a main fold here in the middle and then the handlebars also fold down. When you do that, it's a pretty compact thing, although it does benefit from a strap to hold all the bits together. There's no magnets or anything to secure them. Now, one of the issues with folding e-bikes is that they can be pretty heavy. Now, the D11 weighs in at 19 kilos. It isn't bad, but it's no lightweight, and so you might struggle to lift it into the boot of a car, say, or get onto a train. But it does have a trick up its sleeve. The battery here is the seat post, so the whole seat post is the battery, and that can easily be removed. That's good if you want to charge it indoors, or you want to make your bike less attractive to thieves if you're parking in town, but it also means that you can separate the battery and the bike, and that helps with transport, so you can sling this big battery in a bag and then carry the bike without it. That drops the bike weight down to about 13.5 kilos, so it's not light, but it might make the difference between it working for you and not. You'll need quite a big bag because this is quite a long seat post, and also it makes the folded bike a little bit less stable because when it's folded it sits on the seat post here, and you can use it as a kind of handle to push the bike around. So, it swings and roundabouts really, whether it's better one way or the other. It will depend on what you use it for. Now, the battery is rated at 417 watt hours, which is good for a folding bike, especially at this price. The power goes to the road through a 250 watt hub motor at the back here. You get a 7-speed derailleur transmission, Shimano Tawny, which doesn't have a massive range, but it's reasonably well judged for the kind of riding you'll be doing. So there's gears for cruising along at 25 kilometers an hour, which is the limit, and there's small enough gears to tackle some reasonable climbs. The motor's not necessarily very powerful, but on a full battery, it's capable of taking the bike up most of the hills around here without much issue, really. There's 3 levels of assistance from the bar-mounted LCD display here. They're on a slightly fiddly little button. Only in the top setting do you get the 25 kilometers an hour. The lowest mode is pretty pedestrian, to be honest. And the second one is kind of okay. This isn't a bike you'll enjoy riding without the motor turned on, by the way. There's a lot of drag in the system, so it doesn't feel very good. The D11 is a bike that's certainly best when fully charged. So some bikes work equally well through the battery cycle, but that's generally the more expensive ones with better battery management. The D11 it's okay, but once I've gone up the big hill to my house once, the next time it's noticeably more of an effort. The bike also suffers from the classic cheap e-bike problem of the load on the motor affecting the battery display here. So the bars will go down when you're struggling up the hill and then they'll magically reappear when you're cruising along the flat at the top. Now that's not a huge issue, but it does mean that you get a little bit more range anxiety. I generally charged the D11 on a daily basis because it works better that way. If your commute is short and you're not taking on anything particularly heavy on the motor, you probably get a working week out of it. Fiido say that the range of this bike is about 100 kilometers in the power assist mode, but you won't really be riding for 100 kilometers on the D11 for a number of reasons. Firstly, the battery won't last that long on normal terrain. I'd say 50 kilometers of mixed use is probably as much as you get from it. 100 kilometers is, that's optimistic, should we say. Secondly, this isn't a bike designed for riding long distances. I mean, you can hop on to the shops on it, or you can do the last mile to work from the station. But you can probably see that the riding position isn't designed for long distances. It's quite short and upright, and the steering is fairly lively. I mean, it's not an unpleasant bike to ride, far from it. It's good fun around town under power, but you wouldn't choose to do a long commute on it when there are hundreds of bikes that are much better suited for that purpose. And thirdly, your hands would probably fall off because the handlebar grips are pretty much the worst I've ever tried. They feel like they're made from a material that's harder than the bars themselves. So you'd probably be wanting to swap them out if you're doing any kind of long rides on it. Now, the design of the D11 caters for a big range of riders. I'm tall, and the reasonably upright position of the seat post here means that the reach doesn't grow very much as you raise the saddle. Smaller riders will probably find the bike a better fit. Now, that being said, I could ride it just fine, and anyone between about 1.5 metres and 2 metres should be okay. There's plenty of seat post to play with. This quick release here isn't a great design. It was slipping when it came to me, and it can really only be adjusted with pliers. It looked like it had seen some action before it arrived at me, so that's not ideal. But the one to adjust the position of the handlebars, that's okay. Everything else on the bike does its job pretty well, really. I mean, it's not top-end gear, and you wouldn't expect that for the price, but you do get a good package. So our review bike has a very workable kickstand. It's got decent enough lights. The rear lights here in the seat post where the battery connector is, and the front is a German-style beam that's that's pretty good for just riding around town. Our bike didn't come with mud guards, but any standard 20-inch mud guard should fit in there. The disc brakes are mechanical, so they're not as powerful as hydraulics, but because they're working on these smaller wheels, their effective diameter is a lot bigger compared to a standard wheel, and I didn't have any issues with them at all. They were fine. The tyres, yeah, they're okay. They're not especially supple, but they seem fairly sturdy, and the grip they offered was absolutely fine. So overall, worth a punt? Well, I mean, if you're looking for an inexpensive folding e-bike, then D11 is well spec'd for a bike that's less than £1,000. There's always, with a bike like this, the issue of warranty returns to think about when you're buying online from a non-UK supplier. So this bike had a bit of an intermittent fault when I was riding it, which sometimes would cause it to turn off in use. Now, it didn't happen very often, and you could always turn it back on again. But if it was your money, you'd be looking to get the bike looked at, to diagnose the fault, and the electricals have a 1-year warranty. But acting on that is not going to be as straightforward as taking it down to your local bike shop or phoning up a UK distributor, because there isn't one. So there's other things to factor in than the performance and the price. But overall, the D11 is likeable enough. Not everything is great, and you wouldn't expect it to be at this price. Overall, it's a good bike for short journeys and mixed mode commutes, and worth a look. So thanks for watching. If you've got any questions about this bike, then stick them in the comments below. We'll do our best to answer them. And if you enjoyed this video, hit the subscribe button and we'll show you more of them. Thanks for watching.